No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is less. As well as if a promontory were, as well if a manner of thy friends, or thy own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. John Donne, Meditations, 17.
Rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep. Romans 12:15. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2.
Well, hello everyone. So glad to have you here on Sunday night. You might not recognize the face because I'm not the regular. The regular happens to be upstairs and hiding right now while I'm doing this recording. But I'm here to share with you something that I feel like's been perking in the back of my mind for a while. And maybe you heard the voice at the beginning of this recording, reading the very popular poem. Not really so popular that you and I have memorized it and stood up in front of a class to quote it, but it's this idea that no man is an island. Every one of us, we have an answer to a call to be there for each other. And I want to share some things with you about that. What John Donne said over 402 years ago, there's no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manner of thy friends or of thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. There's a clip of a TV sitcom that started back in 1970. Some of you will know it's called The Mary Tyler Moore Show. And that was the year I turned 15. I was not paying attention to television at that age, between church and school and photography and all the things that were going on in my life. I was busy every day, every night, and every weekend, it seems like. But the Mary Tyler Moore Show began when I was 15 years old and lasted about 7 years or so. And toward the ending of the run of that show, they did an episode where they dealt with the death of a colleague and a friend. And the humorous, a little dark, but it was dealing with the idea that one of their own friends had died a tragic, violent death, and they were having trouble coming to grips with the ideal of someone they had just been with earlier in the day is now gone. And the phrase was used in this conversation, don't ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. And the news anchorman was one of these goofy characters from the 60s and 70s. And he says, well, what does that mean? And so they go into an explanation of that particular poem. And I guess that kind of question still wanders around in our midst today. But I ask myself a question. How does this 402-year-old meditation affect me today? What was Donne trying to say? So I put some analysis into it. But what he was trying to say was that none of us live cut off from the rest of the world. Now, it is true. Many of us want to go live on an island. We want to take a solo trip. We want to get us way as far from people as we can. But what Dunn is trying to tell us is that even though you might feel like that, I am still a part of you. And in my sickness, because he wrote this during a serious illness, you are a part of me. We share this life together, and we need to share equally with each other. We breathe the same air, and if someone is suffering like I am, I sure want you a part of my life. If you're suffering, I want to be a part of your life. So this is really where I feel like the time periods have changed the way we look at how we look at life. We're in the internet age. We're in the time when you can do just about anything you want by yourself from the comfort of a phone, a home office, or traveling down the road. We're at a time when it's easy to get away from everybody else, but yet we can't cut the cord. We still want to watch. We still want to connect. We still want to be a part of the social life of what the internet offers. So in my world, I love studying the Apostle Paul. Paul, at the very start of his Christian ministry, it was a fiery life before of trying to destroy the church. That was his desire. That was his focus, to wipe out the upswell of Christianity that was happening in Jerusalem and Israel. And he had authority from the priests to go and to destroy everybody that he could, bring them back into prison if he could. And that was his whole goal. And yet we know his road to Damascus. We know how God struck him down, how the Lord spoke to him, and him being blinded and hearing, and he had a conversation with God. And we know that how he had this miraculous healing. And then all of a sudden, this man who was trying to destroy is now the man that's trying to save. This man that was once against is now a man that is for. And what he said in Romans 12:15 says, rejoice with those who rejoice. In other words, if you're happy, I'm happy. If I can be happy while you're happy, I ought to be just as happy as you're happy. And then he says, weep with those who are weep. We share tears together when things are really sad, and we share angst and anguishment with each other. And this is just the way life is. I don't weep by myself. I don't cry by myself. I don't rejoice by myself. I am better off when I do it with others. Paul went on to say later in Galatians, he says, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Well, what is that law? To me, the law was something that the Lord put forth and said, this is the law of Christ. This is what the church is all about. This is what I'm all about. And he is expressing himself, Paul is, to the church of Galatia, that we need to fulfill this law that Jesus started. I can't do that if I'm away from you. Yeah, I might be able to write a blog, might be able to do a podcast, might be able to preach a message that is only heard electronically through some social platform that's out there. But what really affects me most is when I'm sitting in the same room with somebody who is going through something, somebody that needs to hear something, somebody that's rejoicing, someone that's sad, is that there is a shoulder to shoulder connection where I can connect with you in the middle, or you connect with me in the middle of whatever life has thrown my way. But somewhere along the way, I got to get out of this lonesome attitude, and I've got to come to be a part of everybody else. That's why we go to work together. We go to school together. We go to church together. And we created a bond that is there that can only be created when you're in the presence of others. And I think that this is what Jesus is teaching. You see, when Jesus began his ministry, he called disciples to him. Follow me, he said. I'll make you fishers of men. He drew friends close. He ate with sinners. He ate with anybody. He sat in fellowship with whoever was around because he had a mission in life to connect with people. You can't do that when you are far away. And then when he sent them out on mission trips, he didn't send them by themselves. He sent them two by two. And he reiterated this idea that I'm with you always, even unto the end. If Christ could not walk alone, and by example, he showed us how we're supposed to walk with others, how much more should we today be so in tune with being in the moment with others who are weeping or rejoicing or living life? So let me ask you a question. Do you have any clue who in your circle of influence might be weeping today because of a tragedy, a struggle, a need? Do you know anybody that's laughing by themselves that, boy, you would be really impacted if you could go and laugh with them? You would be better off for sharing their happiness. If we can somehow bridge, make a way that people that are removed can come join, not feel the angst of the moment, not feel the stretch of camaraderie and that it's going to hurt me to be here, but to know that they're loved, respected, and we care for them. How much more would life be if we would just say, I'm doing this together. I'm not alone. I'm not in this alone. I'm not an island unto myself. Remember, that's what Paul, long before John Donne said anything, this is what Paul is trying to connect. Sure, he had to write letters because of the great distances. And sure, he had to go on mission trips in order to reach the corners of the earth that he was responsible for. And sure, he had to instruct from afar. But you know, if his heart could have put him in the middle of a congregation or a group of people, Paul could have been in the big middle of it. How much more impactful life would have been because he was connected. And I think that's what I have felt this week, preparing for this, is that we need to somehow get past our aloneness, our aloofness, our separation. We need to ignore the differences that would separate us and look for the commonality that would draw us. I'm not here just because I am a pastor. I'm here because I'm a child of God. And I want to fulfill the law of Christ. If I could just do what Jesus said. And what did Jesus say? He says, I'm with you. If I could just say, Lord, you're with me now. Help me be with them there, and take Jesus with me and go into the midst and be there close to others. I don't want you to be on an island. I don't want to be on an island where I don't see another smokestack. Let there be a mountain with a hanging glacier bringing natural cold air down to my house. And let me have a river. Let me have a stream. Let me have a pond. Let me have a place where nobody else can be, and I will be happy. But I will not be happy because I'm alone. And we need to get past that point from being alone. We are at a place where we need to connect. School is about to start back up. We're about to bring all of our summer vacations to a close. We're about to get ourselves ready to start a new beginning. And what better place to be than in fellowship with other believers, in fellowship with our families, in fellowship with friends and neighbors, co-workers. Join in and be a part of. You're not alone. We're not alone. Anyway, that's what I have to share today. We're in this together. I think it's time to look ahead to Monday. Woo-wee. We got another week ahead right before a holiday. God bless you. We'll see you next week.